And to Newswatch. You know, one of the biggest media stories of the year is going to be the interview that Russian President Vladimir Putin is granting to Tucker Carlson, one of his biggest boosters in the American media, darling of the right, the far right. Carlson is gloating about it and again preaching his wacky conspiracy theories about a lying media dragging the US into supporting a nasty Ukraine in war.
Since the day the war in Ukraine began, American media outlets have spoken to scores of people from Ukraine, and they've done scores of interviews with Ukrainian President Zelensky. We ourselves have put in a request for an interview with Zelensky, and we hope he accepts. But the interviews he's already done in the United States are not traditional interviews. They are fawning pep sessions specifically designed to amplify Zelensky's demand that the U.S. enter more deeply into a war in Eastern Europe and pay for it. That is not journalism. It is government propaganda. Propaganda of the ugliest kind. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin. Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. We are not here because we love Vladimir Putin. We are here because we love the United States.
No, Carlson got the interview because Putin loves him. That's what it's about. Tucker's claim that the mainstream media couldn't be bothered interviewing Putin is totally false. The BBC's asked for interviews often. CNN has too. Many others. Putin has said no to them all. But is granting Carlson this interview because he loves Tucker Carlson's pro-Russian spin.
Why do I care? Why do I care what's going on in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? And I'm serious. Like, why do I care?
Tell you why.
And why shouldn't I root for Russia, which I am?
Talk about fawning. And Putin would love Carlson's anti-Ukraine venom, some of which sounds almost anti-Semitic, claiming Ukraine's Jewish president is rat-like, sweating, anti-Christian.
Ukraine, as you may have heard, is led by a man called Zelensky, sweaty and rat-like, a comedian turned oligarch, a persecutor of Christians.
Zelensky's anti-Christian? If that were true, the world's top Christian leaders wouldn't be greeting him so warmly, treating him as a man simply trying to save his country from a brutal invasion led by a corrupt war criminal mass murderer that Tucker Carlson helps to defend. Joining me is Sophie Elsworth, media writer for The Australian. Sophie, how do you think Tucker Carlson got this interview?
Well, Andrew, I think it's quite obvious that he's obviously been incredibly positive towards Vladimir Putin and the complete opposite to Zelensky. So Putin, I highly doubt, would be prepared to do a sit-down interview with someone who's incredibly critical of him. But as we know, Andrew, we're yet to see this interview and time will tell. But I really hope that when Tucker Carlson does sit down with him, he asks him some very important issues. And one, namely, is what on earth is going on with the Wall Street journalist Evan Gershkovich, who remains behind bars in Russia with little to no explanation. This is just one example of some of the horrors going on, as aside from everything else unfolding there. So I really hope his journalism is put to the test here and he asks those questions.
Very good point. And you might have also asked about the Russian journalists that have been poisoned and shot, critical journalists under Putin's watch. You're quite right. I mean, maybe Tucker Carlson's been playing a long game trying to suck Putin into a false sense of security and then will turn out to be the fearless asker of tough questions, but we shall see. Now, Carlson, of course, got fired by Fox News for various reasons I've discussed before, has been making millions striking out on his own with interviews like this. What is the story with this particular interview? Where's it showing?
So, Andrew, Tucker Carlson, since he departed Fox News, has set up his own website. It's a subscription-based website, so he'll be hoping people will go there, obviously pay a fee to view the interview with Putin. But following on from that, it will be broadcast or it will be distributed on the platform X, owned by Elon Musk, formerly Twitter. Elon Musk has come out and said, interestingly, Andrew, that he will not suppress this and it will air eventually in full on the platform X. So eventually it'll have a huge reach for those people not willing to pay for this content.
No, I don't think he should be suppressing interviews like that, but I think they should all be flagged and the lies and exaggerations and misstatements called out. Here's a bizarre story, Sophie, that you put me onto. The ABC actually has a department called ABC Queer. Why? And its head of content, Monique Shafter, sent out this appeal. The ABC is filming a drag story time event for the 2024 Mardi Gras broadcast and is looking for children aged between 3 and 5 to take part. If you and your tiny humans are interested, please email. What on earth is this about and what happened?
Well, the ABC has a department, ABC Queer, that basically pushes the queer cause, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's got Facebook account, Instagram account and so forth, and they were looking for this content for this drag story time, which will go into their content for the Sydney Mardi Gras. Now, Andrew, I think the ABC have been a bit sneaky here because the call out for children aged 3 to 5, might I add, which I just can't believe, was not done on their social media platforms. It was done on the Rockdale community page in Sydney's south. I think they were hoping people wouldn't cotton on to this, but of course there was a backlash and now they've cancelled it. This is, I'm wondering, Andrew, why is the taxpayer spending money on this sort of content?
On recruiting 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds to have a drag queen read stories to them? Seriously? That's what our taxes are for? Do it on your own dime. Bloody creeps. Sophie Elsworth, thank you so much indeed for your time.